So there's no secret that I love using the ATEM switcher. I actually recommend that to a lot of ministries that I do. But one thing I've noticed, and a lot of y'all have asked me, how do I determine which ATEM is right for the right situation, the right ministry, the right role, the right responsibility? In this video, I'm going to walk you through my steps in processing which ATEM is right for which situation, and hopefully that will help you in your decision-making process if you're looking at buying one. So let's go. Alrighty, so I'm gonna make this as short and sweet as possible. There are gonna be timestamps everywhere to go over each item, and I'm gonna give you a unique scenario on each way I would use the ATEM. I've owned every single one of them, and I've used them in each scenario, and I'm just gonna tell you where I would use them and how I recommend these to clients now. So if we start on our base one. The base one is the ATEM Mini. Now, I'm going to let you know right now, this one has been discontinued. You can probably get it for around $195, but we're going to start with that one. The ATEM Mini is a 4-input capture device, has 2 audio inputs. It has no headphone out. It has no multi-view. It has no live streaming. It is a glorified 4-unit capture card that has a USB out and an HDMI out that will show whatever input you have selected. Where is this good for? I still would recommend this as a capture device because you have 4 inputs. Any good capture device, any of the Elgatos, anything like that, they're only capturing 1 input. The ATEM Mini gives you 4. When would I use this? This is what I would recommend if you are you're a pastor, you have some way you want to upgrade your live streaming, your Zoom or whatever, with another camera that you have around, whether it be a DSLR camera, anything that has an HDMI out, a camcorder, and it gives you an option of having a better input and better sound. But then also it's just at $195, it's about $20 plus or minus what any other capture card would give you, and it gives you more inputs. So you can have one camera connected, have your computer connected if you're doing presentations, have it hooked up to USB, go to Zoom, whatever, and there you go. That's when I would use those. But again, the ATEM Mini, the original one, has been discontinued, so Blackmagic is not making them anymore. If you find them anywhere, it's going for $195. Please do not pay more than that. All right, for the next one, we have the ATEM Mini Pro. The ATEM Mini Pro has all the same features of the ATEM Mini, but this one actually has a multi-view out or program out. You can't have both. You have one or the other. And it has features built in that it can live stream independently. When would I use this? The exact same scenario I just talked about. If you have like a studio, you want to upgrade, have a multiple 4-input type of selection, computers, multiple cameras, a computer, up to 4 inputs, and you want to do stuff like that. Or maybe now your computer is not fast enough. Now the ATEM Mini Pro can live stream itself. Or you're doing a podcast and you want to use video with it, but you're not going to use a lot of inputs. That's something. If you're doing, this will be a good option if you have like a conference room and you want to output, kind of, I did do this at Signs and Wonders, that we have the output and it's going to a screen so I can see the full multi-view, everything that's going on to manage it. And it's in a studio setting, meaning that the talent that are going to be on cameras, talking, podcasts, whatever, they can see the multi-view and it's not going to affect them in any way, shape, or form. You're not broadcasting this out to an audience or something like that. Again, another scenario is this could be a good item to have in your bag if you're out doing weddings, or like I'm getting ready to do a graduation. This will be good for that, to where I'm just live streaming that whole thing to some other people that are not able to attend the graduation. I have less than 4 cameras max, inputs or whatever, and it works like that. And that gives me a whole solution that I can live stream. That's what I would use that. Me personally, I would never recommend the ATEM Mini Pro to a church, just because I'm all about expanding and giving future functionality that ultimately every church I've talked to has always grown into. The ATEM Mini Pro in a sanctuary setting is quickly going to limit you what you're going to do, mainly because you can't have multi-view and a program out. That's the main limiting factor for that, why I would not recommend that. So again, the ATEM Mini Pro, if you want to stream games, if you're into gaming, or you want to have this functionality inside of your office with better cameras, but your computer's not fast enough and you want to live stream with that, that's the reason I would do that. Or if you can't find the ATEM Mini Pro, the ATEM Mini Pro is now $295. So that's still a good deal with all those prices. That's when I would use that. Now the next one is the ATEM Mini Pro ISO. Same thing as the one we just talked about. The only difference is the ISO now will record every single input as well as the program out. This is a benefit. I had the ATEM Mini Pro originally, just like I said, for doing graduations, football games, weddings, and stuff like that. But I upgraded to the ISO, especially for weddings, because it records every single input. So if I missed the kiss, if I missed somebody in the audience, if I missed anything, the ATEM Mini Pro ISO is recording every single input, so I can easily go back and edit the video to include what I may have missed that was going out to the program. That's the main benefit. All the functionality is the same. I personally would only recommend the ISO, whether in a ministry, or any type of scenario I talked about before, if there's a situation where you need to be able to go back and have every single input as well as the master program out all being recorded, so that at any time you can go back and, oh, I missed this shot, I missed this, and go back. Again, that's the reason I did this for graduation, because one of our cameras died and I missed it. So I went to an ISO so that I can capture everything, so I can always go back and edit anything that I missed. So it's more of a backup type of thing. Still has the limitations of not having program and multi-view out. You only have one USB out. So you're either going to hook up a hard drive to record or have it connect to the computer. You can't do both. So the same still limitations of the ATEM Mini Pro. You just now have the ATEM Mini Pro can record all 4 inputs as well as every input that's going on at the ATEM and the program out. All right, so the next one, I'm going to play along with this because it's just like the ATEM Mini, but it's the ATEM SDI. It is the exact same thing as the ATEM Mini, the base one, but instead of HDMI inputs, it has SDI inputs, and it has 2 SDI outs. So it has solved the problem with having a multi-view and a program. Well, the ATEM Mini doesn't have a multi-view at all. The ATEM SDI has a multi-view and a program out. But just like the ATEM Mini, it can't live stream. It is nothing but a glorified capture card, but it does give you SDI inputs and 2 SDI outputs, so for program in the multi-view. Realize since it's not HDMI, you have to either have SDI cameras, SDI monitors, or you're going to have to add converters to convert them to whatever input, typically HDMI for you to see. Same functionality. It can't live stream. It's just a capture card. All right. Now, they also have the ATEM SDI Pro ISO. So all the same functionality of the ATEM Mini Pro ISO, but you have SDI connections, 4 of them, 2 outs. So compared to the ATEM Mini Pro and Pro ISO, you have the multi-view and a program out. So you get the better of both worlds. This one can also live stream, and it's an ISO, so it records all of the inputs as well. So if you want to go back to the wedding, graduation type of scenario and use higher quality, professional grade SDI cables that connect to this, this will work, and you'll get a program out. So if you want to connect this to an overflow at a graduation or at a church or something like that, the SDI out can do that, and you'll still have a multi-view. I personally still would not use the ATEM Mini Pro ISO, ATEM Mini SDI Pro ISO in a church, because you're limited to 4 inputs. I'm all about growth. Once you add 3 cameras and add a computer, you can't go any further. So again, I would use this if I had professional cameras. I have a max of 4 inputs with no intention of going any higher. I want to have high quality SDI connections so that you're in a maybe a rough environment. This is outside. It might be weather. SDI cables are weatherproof. You don't have to worry about that. They're very tough. Nobody can just yank the cables loose because they lock in place in a scenario like that. So a studio where this is permanent, maybe a podcast studio, something like that, where you have professional cameras hooked up on walls and you running cables in the wall. That's where I would use this in this scenario. So on the road where I need some more professional stuff, higher quality graded cables that can endure tougher situations, or in a studio where, I can still have a program out and things like that. That's where I would use that. All right, so now we're gonna go over the ATEM Mini Extreme. This is one, honestly, my go-to that I pretty much recommend 95% of the time to ministries. Why is that? Instead of 4 inputs, it has 8. So it gives you room to grow. We have 2 DSKs, so you can have multiple functions of text over live video, bugs, all this other graphics that you can do. It can do live streaming. It has 2 HDMI out, so one for a multi-view, so everybody can see what's going on at the same time, kind of like what I have on my system right now. You have 2 USB outs, so either I can hook up a hard drive to record and connect it still to a computer if I want to. Like I said, it can do live streaming, and yeah, it has a lot of features built in that free up some stuff. This is one of the things that I recommend because most churches I've worked at, they don't have 8 cameras or 8 inputs, but it gives them room to grow. And I have not seen that many that have gone past 8 inputs in a while. A lot, I mean, not that many people have, but they're rare and far between compared to everybody else. The ATEM Mini Extreme I just think, is a well-rounded device, especially for studios if you know you're going to have multiple cameras. But it's mainly the flexibility of having a multi-view and a program out. I've given these to ministries where they only have 1 camera in 1 computer, but I know they have a vision of, oh, we only want 1 camera in the back. And I already know it's going to happen. They're going to put a camera in the front so they can see for weddings, funerals, whatever. They can see the congregation, people coming down the aisle. Then it's going to be a side camera. Then it might be, hey, I want to have lyrics on the walls for this. It gives you room to grow. And there's so many features built into it, just like with the other ones that most people aren't going to use. But by the time they're ready, the hardware is already ready to do it. So they also have another one, the ATEM Mini Extreme ISO. Does the exact same thing, but it records every input. So instead of recording the 4 inputs in the program, like the ATEM Mini Pro ISO, it's recording all 8. So originally, I've done a graduation 3 years in a row. I started with the ATEM Mini, then I went to the ATEM Mini Pro, then I did the ATEM Mini Pro ISO, and now, because we had to send everything to a overflow, which my ATEM Mini Pro ISO could not do, I upgraded to an ATEM Mini Extreme ISO because we're using more cameras. We're past the 4 inputs. I need a multi-view so I can see everything that's going on. I need the ATEM to live stream, but I also have to feed an output to the overflow in another building at the school. So that's why I upgraded, because of the functionality. And last year we had an issue where the recording got messed up. So now the ISO is going to record every single independent input so that we won't miss somebody coming up on the stage. We won't miss somebody accepting their certificate and everything because we're recording from everything. That's what I'm using that for. So that is my go-to from a production standpoint, from a business standpoint. But now when I'm doing weddings, I use that so that I can now have stationary cameras set up, as well as the cameras that I'm controlling, so that I can get every single angle. So if anything happens, the ISO recordings give me backup. Now, very rarely would I recommend this for a church, but again, if your church is very well known for recording different events in multiple angles, and you do a lot of video editing, and you want to leverage a lot of social media platforms and use that, I would think that would be a good investment. And that's what I would use. I've only installed ISOs, ATEM Mini Extreme ISOs, in maybe a handful of churches. I'm using one right now. That's how I do all my videos. The one is in my portable set. That is now also an ATEM Mini Extreme ISO. for that same reason of capturing everything and all the functionality that we talked about. All right, so now the last one, just like the ATEM Mini Extreme and Mini Extreme ISO, there is the ATEM SDI Extreme ISO. Gives you all the same functionality, ATEM Mini Extreme and the ATEM Mini Extreme ISO. The only difference is the ATEM SDI Extreme ISO has 4 independent outputs, not 2 like the Mini Extreme or the Mini Extreme ISO. I just recently installed one of these, so you have 4 outputs. So you don't need a splitter, you have 4 independent ones. So one can be your multi-view, and then you have 3 more that can be anything that you set it to. That frees up having to do a splitter. And again, why do I go with the SDI in those type of scenarios where I'm running SDI cables, need more studio grade cable, they're in a rougher environment, you want them to last longer. That's where I use those from. Just realize when you use stuff like that, you're going to need to have converters. So at Hood Temple AME, that's what I'm installing because I'm running SDI everywhere. That just works in that scenario. And we're going outside with our cables. If I'm going to be outside in an environment like that, I would rather use these cables that are rated for outside. I'm not going to run HDMI cable outside. So that's where I would use it. So that was a really as best as simplified as I could possibly make it, what goes through my mind when I'm picking the differences. Again, the 4 input ones, that's mainly for where I don't need to have, I'm satisfied with just a multi-view and I don't need to have a full program out to somebody else. The SDI versions, I go with that if it's more of a, I need a more of a reliable cable structure to where it's going to be permanent, locking in place. It might have better sustainable cables that might be in tough environments, maybe an attic that might be rodent infested or whatever you want to call. It might just be tough, or it needs to go, cables need to go outside, something like that. I use those for those type of scenarios. Or if I'm doing something brand new and I want very strong cables, that's what I would go with. The ISOs are always in production points where I need to capture everything. And I don't have the ability to go back in time and capture something that may have missed. So if I'm doing any type of production, everything is also always the ISO version as a redundancy and a backup for me. Typically, the Mini Extreme is what I use. At most ministries, I suggest because it gives them room to grow without having to replace a lot of stuff. It gives them the ability of a multi-view, and it gives them the ability of seeing a program that goes out to the congregation, overflows or anything like that. And the ATEM can live stream itself, so it removes the need of having a dedicated live streaming PC. Hope that helps. Link is down below to every one of these. And again, I've used every single one. If you have any questions, feel free to email me at questions@ajhomes.com. Give me 48 to 72 hours to respond to you. If you need some help to set up and design a system for you, you can always hit me up at ajhomes.com/consultations. I'll be more than happy to help you lay out a plan and recommend some hardware to you that suits your unique needs. If you like this type of content, appreciate a like, consider subscribing, hit that bell, that way you get notified when we come out with other videos to help modernize your media ministry. Thanks for watching, folks. This is AJ. Catch you on the next video. Later.